Greetings everyone, and as promised we're going to talk about the last 3 levels of power. This is part 2. So in part 1 we talked about legitimate power being kind of having a title, nothing but. We also talked about reward power, the ability to incentivize individuals to achieve something, provide some motivation. We also talked about coercive being something that was negatively seen, kind of perceived as something negative, but in fact it's not. Today we're going to talk about the last 3, that being expert, informational, and referent. So let's get to it. So the first one being expert power. Expert power is the type of power that someone has based upon their knowledge and their skills. Have you ever talked to someone about whatever topic and you're like, wow, they know a lot about this? Gone to the store asking or looking for something and you have to find somebody to ask them about it? They know what they're talking about, or at least they should. You know, as a veteran in the Marine Corps, I met quite a few people that had a tremendous amount of expert power. Unfortunately, not all the officers figured that out. And if any of you are veterans out there, you'll probably realize this, but this idea of a second lieutenant is the first level of an officer. They're straight out of their OCS, they come to their first command, and they think they know everything. Unfortunately, that's not the case. They have legitimate power by having that gold bar on their collar. But the true expert power more than likely resides with someone within their command that has been doing that job for years. They know what they're talking about. Now, it's best if that second lieutenant would speak to this individual to get the information that they may need, because that person that they're speaking to knows what they need to do. That's a level of expert power. Now, we talk about the ability to have the expert power, but we also need to kind of take into consideration the ability to find that expert power. Realize, ladies and gentlemen, that you don't know everything. So find those individuals who have the expert power. You might learn a lot. And after a while, who's to say you might not hold that expert power? Second one, referent power. This one's a little bit more unique. In fact, there's a lot of people that will look at this and say, well, isn't referent power similar to some other ones? Okay, so let's kind of get the definition first off. A referent power is based upon character. It's the charisma of someone. You know, those individuals who hold referent power, their peers and even their subordinates, or for that matter, even, you know, the people above them, kind of look at this and go, wow, I would follow them. I can see that they have the ability to lead. They can speak clearly. They can show why I'm doing what I'm doing. They can actually provide reason and understanding to the job that I do. So the ability to have this actually garners respect, admiration from their followers to say, I want to follow this individual because he has referent power. I'm referring to his judgment. I'm referring to his leadership because I realize that he may have other levels of power. He may or may not have legitimate power, that title. He may or may not have the expert power, but he has something that I want to kind of grow into. I may look up to him, you know, admire that. So that creates devotion. That creates respect in others. That in turn drives collaboration and influence within the organization. We don't need to command and control. We don't need to provide sole coercive power. Remember that one from the previous video? If not, check it out. We don't need to use that. We may have the ability to showcase, to show those stories and what have you to these individuals. That's referent power. Third one, informational power. Now, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, the 6 levels of power that we're talking about, 5 of them, prior to this one, came about in 1959. Psychologists kind of came up with these as to form a theory and basis about motivation and talking about employees and the idea of work. The 6th one, informational power, really never came about until 1964. Excuse me, 65. I was off by a year. So 1965, the idea of informational power came about. Informational power has everything to do with, do you know someone who has the ability to find the information? I don't know where to look. We are in an information age, in the idea of computers and the internet and everything associated with it. Do you know someone that you reach out to or speak to that might be able to help you find the information, still needing for you to make the determination or the decisions which have been asked of you, but you go to someone else? They have informational power. Now, it doesn't only mean that it's an individual. It could be an entity, an organization that has the informational power. How many of you are on social media? Did you ever ask yourself why? Is it just to pass the time, waste the time? Or is it to potentially find information? Again, depending upon the social media outlet. Where do you get your news? Is it from a single source? Wouldn't suggest that. Is it from multiple sources? And if so, which ones? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Those sources that you go to for information are the informational power that they hold. And believe me, when we talk about media today, whether it's the Fifth Estate or any other forms of media that we might be familiar with today, they want the title of informational power. There's the last three. If you're wondering what the other three are about, check out the other video. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Let's kind of wrap it up with this. Why am I even talking about power? You as managers hold that. You also must realize that your employees hold that as well. And it's best served for both you, them, and your organization as a whole to realize, where are these different forms of power? How can I use them in a constructive and an effective manner? You handle that, you do that, you will be successful. ICPM can help you do this with the Certified Management Certification. Validate your knowledge, your understanding, your skills. Show the world that you actually know what you're talking about. Show the world that you have an understanding and a use of the 6 types of power which every manager should have. Validate it now at icpm.net.